Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 1st of July. The year is fairly drawing in. Jonny McFarlane joins me, Derek Clark, this morning. How are we doing, Jonny?
Good, mate. Good. This is my 5th video in a row, so I'm looking forward to Joshua getting back next week.
Are we gallivanting again, the part-timer?
Yeah, there he is. I don't know. Shocking.
Right, before we talk all things Rangers, folks, just about housekeeping. As ever, the banner below, the little ticker, tells you that if you subscribe to the Rangers Review now, you get it absolutely free for the first 30 days. It's a bargain. Get full access as well. Just £2.99 per month. Thereafter, just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And as you can see, we're sponsored by the One Football app. It is your one-stop shop for all your footballing needs. You can keep up to date with all the latest goings-on from Ibrox. Keep abreast of all the latest transfer news, incomings and outgoings, fixture lists and results. You can scout the opposition. You can also keep abreast of all that's going on across the border down south in the Premier League, Championship, League One and League Two. And there's also lots of stuff on there from the continent as well, so you can keep abreast of everything that's going on in the football world. The good news is it's totally free, so it won't cost you a penny, and it's available for iPhone and Android users. A lot of people downloading it and saying great things about it, so get it downloaded, folks. Okay, let's talk Rangers, Jonny. A couple of comments I wanted to touch on to begin with. Alfredo Morelos is in the news. It's because comments have been made by former Celtic midfielder, no less, Peter Grant. He reckons Alfredo Morelos is a liability for Rangers. He's speaking on the Go Radio station. I'll go on to quote what he says. People talk about Morelos going to Spain or whatever, but Rangers must be sick of it because it happens every year with him. I've never been a big fan. Last year was probably his best period in the European games. Čolak is a great age by all accounts, a good mobile striker, and I think he's a little bit different from Morelos, so I'm sure Gio will know the players he wants to replace. We've said that before anybody goes out, you're sure you want to have people lined up. He goes on to talk about Morelos. He was excellent against Dortmund, but I thought he was a liability prior to that in league matches and cup competitions back here. The bread and butter stuff. I never thought he was fit enough. There was always issues with him coming back from international duty with injuries or whatever. What do you make of the comments from Peter Grant? I always think, Jonny, when Celtic players comment on, ex-Celtic players comment on Rangers players, I always take it with a pinch of salt. Seemed a tad lazy for me where he's coming from with regards to that. He is in no way a liability.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm surprised at Peter Grant coming out with stuff like this because, in general, he's normally more thoughtful in his punditry than some of this stuff. I don't know if people will have seen him in the night that they had in Airdrie recently that was hosted by Tam Cowan for Andy Gorham. Peter Grant was there to offer his support for Andy Gorham and spoke really eloquently about what the goalie meant to him and their friendship over the years, despite the Old Firm divide, which I thought was a classy act from Peter Grant. So I was a bit surprised to hear him coming out with this stuff. I mean, first of all, number one, Alfredo Morelos' best period was last year in Europe for Rangers. I mean, so he was injured and didn't play in the sort of key games. You know, there's a season, I think 2019, where he was the Europa League top scorer for quite a large period and was absolutely on fire. So that's just not accurate. Anyone who's watching Alfredo Morelos knows that while he was very, very good once Giovanni Van Bronckhorst came in, there wasn't that many European games that fell under that period. You know, the majority of the games were played after once he got injured, unfortunately, because I think if he'd still been around, Rangers would be Europa League winners in the Champions League and looking forward to a Super Cup with you on your way to Helsinki. So unfortunately, that was the case. So that's the first thing he said that wasn't wrong. To say he's a liability, the last red card that Alfredo Morelos had was in 2019. It was the game against Celtic. 2-1 defeat at Parkhead, where Rangers played really excellently after he was sent off, but didn't have enough to get over the line. So there's no doubt that Alfredo Morelos has curbed the worst aspects of his temperament in games. He just doesn't seem likely to get sent off anymore. You know that he's always got it in him, but it's just not been a real concern. I don't think his discipline or his temperament in the last couple of years, he's done really well to stamp that out of his game. So I don't really think that's fair, although, it was fair at one point, but you look at it now and you say, nah, it's definitely something he's vastly improved. And then finally, I think the point about his fitness is pretty fair, to be honest. He has had issues with coming back fully fit from being at home in Colombia. You kind of understand that. He gets away, sees his family and friends, and obviously, he's concentrating on seeing everyone again rather than being an elite athlete, perhaps, for that time. But yeah, it's certainly been an issue. So I think that's fair. But talking about, he's had injuries. I mean, Alfredo Morelos has had one injury in the entirety of his time at Rangers. He's never been injured. The only time he was injured, again, unfortunately, was in the lead up to the Europa League latter stages. So I just think it's pretty lazy, and a lot of the comments made there are just factually incorrect. So it's just one of those you just have to say, you shrug your shoulders. The only reason we're talking about it, guys, is because it's not an awful lot happening. So normally, I think on a normal day, we probably wouldn't want to be talking about something that an ex-Celtic player said about a Rangers player, but it's pre-season, guys. I'm sorry.
I wanted to touch on this point. Thanks to Jock tuning in from sunny France. He says he's finally subscribed. Pretty good content so far. Good to have you on board, Jock. Really appreciated. Hopefully you enjoy it. I wanted to touch on the actual value of £6 million, Jonny. And I see Kenny Miller's also sort of been in the media just saying that that's sort of what Rangers can realistically get. For me, I would rather Alfredo Morelos departs for nothing next summer rather than take £6 million right now. It's chicken feed to me.
I can understand why you're saying that. I don't think Rangers would accept £6 million.
No,
I don't. I just don't. So I think they'd probably see it the same way. I think as much as anything else, Derek, if you accept £6 million for Alfredo Morelos, you're probably setting a precedent for the value of your players.
Yeah.
Especially with, I know he's only got a year to go in his contract, but especially with the way Alfredo Morelos has played over the years and performed for Rangers. He is the club's top European goal scorer. If you compare to what happened across the city in terms of last summer, Odsonne Edouard, I think, went for about 13 or 14 million pounds to the Premier League with 1 year left. You can't. I just don't see that kind of gap being sensible. And I know for a fact that when the rumours were doing the rounds of an 8 million or an €8 million bid from Seville, I was told that Rangers would not have accepted that. So I think Kenny Miller's just got that wrong about £6 million, and it would need to be more than that, Derek. And I think ultimately you would have to hope that you would just keep him if that's all that was available in the market. It's unfortunate, but I mean, I don't think you can be letting players like that go out the door for that kind of money, because it lowers the overall price for players who are interested in other players, for teams that are interested in other players. So I think it's a total non-starter, that price. And listen, we're old enough to remember Brian Laudrup and what happened there. That was a £5 million bid from Ajax. Brian was in the last year of his contract, and David Murray said, no, I'd rather just keep you than let you go for that. And that was a mistake, ultimately. I don't think he performed anywhere near the level that he'd done in previous seasons, and looked a bit, not disinterested, that would be unfair, but certainly diminished. And that would be the worry with Alfredo, that might happen. So you'd be better off getting some money in, but the truth of it, Derek, is I just think it undermines the ability to sell other players for big money. I think you've got to try and maintain a sense of strength in the transfer market. I don't think that would represent strength. I think it would represent weakness.
Yeah. Derek Gray rightly points out he did go to Chelsea. Laudrup and for Heho and never kicked a ball. He certainly did. Didn't quite work out from it. And incidentally,
he ended up back at
Ajax
like 6 months later, didn't he? It was...
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. I think his brother was there at the time as well. I'm sure, just for a short spell, and before then going to Copenhagen, I think it was. There was an interesting point that came in. I'm trying to find it now, Jonny, but there was a comment saying how realistic. I think we touched on it yesterday. Morelos actually signs a new deal. Now, I think it would be beneficial for the club to tie him down, even if it's just an extra year's extension with the promise that he could perhaps move on next summer. I'm not too sure, but I think it's all about protecting your assets, isn't it? And Alfredo Morelos is one, if not the hottest property at Ibrox just now.
Yes, I think the club are desperate to come to an agreement with Alfredo Morelos. I know they're certainly, the last time I checked, they were still in talks and still trying to sort something out with his agent. There's a wider issue here, I think, Derek, which is that of the current state of the transfer market, and I think we're still seeing fairly significant ripples. I'd go as far to say waves from COVID. And the kind of clubs that Rangers would be expecting to come in with bids outside of the Premier League, for example, like a Lille, who already bid £16.5 million for Alfredo Morelos in the past. I don't see a lot of action on this front from these clubs. I think there's a lot of clubs out there who are now a bit distressed, and that's problematic in terms of the kind of fees that you're potentially going to get, the interest that you're going to get. But there's a flip side to it, Derek. There's a flip side in that clubs that are well run and that do have some money to spend in this window, I think will get a lot more bang for their buck. We'll see how it pans out. Obviously, at the moment, it looks like Čolak is the number one priority to get sorted out first. I think that does make sense in terms of getting another striker in, somebody who can hold the ball up and finish. But I think all of us would like to see some movement in the days and weeks ahead towards getting a right winger in, and you start to feel a lot more comfortable about this Rangers squad. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if we may see players walk out for free, just based on nothing that I've heard from Rangers, nothing that I've heard from anyone. Just the state of the market, Derek, and the lack of movement outside of the really, really big clubs. So you're still getting those moves like Chelsea coming in for Rafinha or Spurs coming in for Richarlison.
Yeah.
But there's not been a lot done outside of that. Now, people might come back and say, well, what about Celtic? I think this is a really important point. Celtic have spent £20 million, but about 16 million of that has been securing players that were already there. So they've spent a huge amount of money by Scottish football terms to stand still. I mean, I think while we've been on air here, I noticed it flashed up on my phone that Jota is now signed for them on a permanent deal. Cameron Carter-Vickers signing on a permanent deal. These are very expensive deals for Celtic, for players who were already there that won't, they're not improving the squad.
But they are spending money, Jonny. I think.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't allow that sort of Celtic have spent 20 million and they're already a title winner to cloud the sort of reality of that. They've essentially brought in two players, Benjamin Siegrist, who I don't think is going to play, and the boy Bernabe, who will play. I think that looks certain that he's going to be their sort of first choice left back. But I don't see them having gone out and spent 20 million to improve on that championship winning squad. It's not that. They've spent that money to maintain that squad, which is less concerning, I think. There's still a lot of money. Yeah,
Malcolm makes a point. He says, let's not forget that Celtic team beat us last season. Rangers do have to overtake Celtic, of course, and it won't be easy. It's going to be interesting to see how the league pans out next season. But I think there's a general consensus Rangers do need to strengthen in key areas. Like you say, Jonny, right wing has been a problematic position for them for some time now. It needs addressed.
I mean, Darren, I'd love to know your opinion on that. I mean, I thought that Rangers still have had a better squad than Celtic last season. I genuinely believe that, even though Celtic won the league. I think that can happen. Like, I think Celtic were probably a better side in 2000 when they went to 2003 when they went to Seville. I think you know, if they hadn't gone to Seville, they probably would have nicked that league. I mean, you can't ever prove that, you know, but I don't always think that the absolute best side wins in a nip-tuck such scenario. And I think Rangers slowly got to grips with Ange Postecoglou's style. I think if Steven Gerrard had stayed, Rangers would have won the league. I've been consistent in that from the get-go.
Yeah.
I think the turnover between the two managers and the changes that were made, that had to be made, and the tumult that caused, and the lengthy European run, did have an impact on Rangers. That's you know, Celtic fans will say I'm talking absolute garbage, and I understand that. But that 3-0 defeat at Parkhead was an aberration, and you saw that in the following games. The defeat at Ibrox was a total marginal game, and Rangers dominated the second half. Now you can say Celtic sat back; they absolutely did, but they were not comfortable. It was very, very close, and it was the same with the game against Parkhead. I thought Rangers were the better team. I thought in the Scottish Cup Rangers were significantly better. So slowly but surely, I think you saw Giovanni Van Bronckhorst get to grips with quite an unusual system that Ange Postecoglou uses.
Yeah.
But the key thing for me, and I've said it over and over again, is that system that Celtic use is very, very good for grinding out wins against low block teams, because it's all about packing the box with bodies, fast attacks, quick passing movements to disrupt the block. It's the kind of tactical system that's ideal for winning against these kind of teams. And I think Rangers are more suited to playing in Europe with the players that they have. And this is something we've talked about. And you need to bring in goals to this team to try and change that. And that's where, you know, you're going to have to see Rangers make movements in this transfer window in the next month. And while I've been very, very much saying, Derek, and I think you have to, everybody needs to calm down. It's only June. Now we're entering July. I think you're going to start to see that pressure ramp up if more signings aren't made. You'd expect Čolak to come in, but you'd also expect other players to come in, especially in the attacking areas, to really refresh things. And that's an expectation regardless if people go or not, because you look at the squad last season, they had Diallo and Ramsey. Those players will need replaced. Both those players will need replaced.
There were a gamble those two. It didn't quite pay off.
Say that again, sorry.
There were a gamble those two. It didn't quite pay off, but I think everyone would have brought them in when they were available in January. They were good options at the time, but as is in football, sometimes it doesn't quite work. But you're right, Jonny. They need to replace those two. They need a goal scorer. Čolak, as we've mentioned at great length, appears to be a man that can get goals, as we mentioned, against teams that play the low block. So it's where Rangers have struggled, especially last season, where they came up short against a number of teams in the bottom six who were just playing the two banks of five and just hoping for a draw. So these are the key areas that they'll need to address before the start of the season. Graham Corkin, good friend of the show, says that he 100% agrees. He said it before. Gio has their number now. It'd be a very different season against them. He's right in a way, but I mean, if we're looking back at the 55 season, Jonny, you'd have been thinking to yourself last summer, Rangers are so far ahead of Celtic, it defies belief, and they're playing catch up. Each season is completely different. So you can't say, oh, Gio's worked out how to play against Celtic. Every season is completely different, and this season coming up will be likewise. So it's
and Postecoglou will adapt and change. I think we can all agree, if you take your sort of blue tinted specs off, that Ange Postecoglou has done a very good job across the city, and you have to give him respect for that. And if you don't respect your opponent and understand where your opponent's strong, it's very, very difficult to beat them. So I think it's going to be a really, really tight one again. It was tight last season. It was 4 points, and I mean, I've talked before about the thin margins. You know, there was games Rangers just drop points that were ridiculous. And the one that always comes back to me about last season is Dundee United away. I mean, that was just it was crazy. That game, and those are the type of results that'll kill your title chances, and that's something that Čolak will surely help with. If you look at his record in Sweden and obviously Croatia, if he can get that form and bring it to Rangers, then I think he'll be a really, really good signing. But I don't think he's coming in, Derek, and you can tell me if you think differently. I don't think Čolak would come in as the number one choice with these with these other two strikers that are already there.
No.
So I think Čolak's someone that gives you another option that you can use against teams where Gio thinks tactically a big target man would be handy.
Yeah, and of course, as we mentioned before, it seems like almost a like-for-like replacement for Cedric Itten, who's headed out the door, but it never quite worked for him. Let's hope that Čolak, should the deal be get over the line, that he's much more useful to Rangers if he arrives. One player who did arrive yesterday, Jonny, another youngster, Bailey Rice from Motherwell, 15-year-old, hugely talented. He's represented Scotland under 17s on 12 occasions. He was offered a senior contract, if you like, at Motherwell, but has decided to move on and join Rangers. I think this is the third academy signing in recent days. And for me, this gives me encouragement that the Rangers are looking to the future. They are sort of cherry picking the best talent from Scottish football. I think that's important, and it's good to see that they've got one eye on the future as well, because as we mentioned many times before, rearing your own and bringing them through the youth academy is hugely beneficial. Will save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. I was writing about this last night in our newsletter. Bailey Rice, really, really talented kid by all accounts.
Yeah.
Cameron Cooper's also joined. Kieran Willocks from Inverness. Mason Munn from Glentoran. And then you've got
Zach
a couple
Lovelace
of players.
is coming.
Sorry?
Zach Lovelace, the boy from...
Well, yeah, I was going to say that there's three players from down south: Paul Niso, Suleiman Mande, and Zach Lovelace.
Yeah.
So a significant volume of young players coming into the academy, many of them extremely highly rated. I mean, we know Zach Lovelace at 16's already had 5 appearances in the English Championship. So that's significant, and it's clear that they're getting their ducks in a row when it comes to snapping up talent. And I think Craig Mulholland was pretty clear about this when what was the guy's name? Sorry, the player's name that went to Aston Villa has just completely gone.
Rory Wilson.
Tony Wilson. Sorry?
Rory
Wilson. Sorry.
Rory Wilson.
And when Rory Wilson went to Aston Villa, he was clear, Craig Mulholland, that you're going to see players going in both directions.
Yeah.
So don't get too bent out of shape over the fact that this guy is going. He's very talented. He scored a lot of goals at youth level. I know Wilson was very highly rated, and it's one of those that Steven Gerrard obviously knows inside out who Rangers have, what they have, and what they're capable of. So he's been able to swoop in there and nick that kid. But Rangers then able to go out and get Zach Lovelace from Millwall, and you just have to stick his name on Twitter and have a look at how Millwall fans are reacting to him departing to get a sense of his quality. And you know, they're absolutely raging that he's been able to walk out the door. So that speaks volumes. You just have to see how it pans out from here. 16 is no age at all, Derek. You can be the world's best player at 16, and by 18, 19, 20, it's all falling apart from you. We've seen that so often with the big talents of Scottish football. People were talking about John Fleck when he was 15, saying he's the Scottish Wayne Rooney. He's had a great career and done really well, but didn't really fulfil, I think, that kind of potential. And we've seen a couple at Celtic. I mean, the boy Karamoko Dembele disappeared off the face of the earth in terms of sort of minutes in the latter few years of his Celtic career. You know, so this is what happens with young players if they don't get the opportunities to spread their wings against men and men's football.
Yeah.
And you can be fantastic and then have it fall apart. So yeah, we've just got to see how it pans out.
Yeah, it's important not to get carried away. I remember the young boy at Rochdale scored at Old Trafford against Man United. I can't remember his name, but sort of so much hype about him after that. He ended up, I think, I had a spell at Hamilton Accies. I'm not too sure where he is now, but it's almost too much too soon with a lot of these young players. But it's good to see that Rangers do have one eye on the future, and they're bringing in these boys who will go into the academy, of course. They'll learn how to play the Rangers way. And it's good to know that you've got the likes of Giovanni van Bronckhorst, who's not afraid to bleed young players into the first team, and also Dave Voss as well with his background in youth football. I think that's highly beneficial as well for the future of the club. I think it's very much in safe hands at the moment. Okay, I think that'll do us there, Jonny. Another packed show as ever. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch with the programme. It is very much appreciated. Just a reminder of that offer we've got on the website just now. If you subscribe, as many of you are doing so, you get your first 30-day trial absolutely free. So you don't need to pay a penny for the first 30 days. Just £2.99 per month thereafter. It's an absolute bargain. So head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. We'll be back again on Monday. Joshua will be back with us following his 600th holiday this year. So that'll be good to welcome him back. But until then, enjoy the